We are no longer choosing to be blind to our own individual inner world and to the external world. I hear, what you see is what you get. That isn't necessarily so. What you see is what you experience, but you may not like the experience that you are getting. So perhaps what you see is an experience you'd rather not have. If you want to have a different experience, then you must change how you see. So we are learning to look at things differently from different perspectives. First and foremost, we are changing perspectives about ourselves in terms of what we can and cannot do. There are some beliefs out there that humans cannot heal themselves, that they don't have that capacity. It's impossible. Well, your body heals itself all the time. You don't think about it. You don't spend time figuring it out. The body knows exactly what to do. Of course you can heal your body. Of course humanity can heal itself. How else do you heal humanity? There's no outside source that says, wave a wand, you're healed. That's not how it happens. Humanity heals itself. You and I can heal ourselves. How? Well, first and foremost, I'm hearing by practicing gratitude. And I'm like, gratitude for what? For the fact that you can heal. Be grateful for the fact that you can heal. Hello, beautiful soul. Before we move on with the messages, I wanted to share something exciting with you. I am blowing away all my 2023 predictions for each zodiac sign at a crazy, incredible 75% off. So if you are wondering what's happening for the rest of the year, if you just want to check in what's going on, if you're curious what your lessons are, if you're curious what you are letting go of karmically, if you are curious as to what it is that you still need to address in order to expand into your higher consciousness, click on the link below. You'll be taken to a site where you will take advantage of this incredible offer. I've never done this before. If you purchase the bundle, you will get each sign at approximately $1.25 per sign. The bundle is 14 hours of incredibly deep, powerful content. So if you were not in a position to purchase them before, I think this is going to be an opportunity for pretty much everyone to be able to afford it. I just feel extra generous and I want you all to have this information. And we're more than halfway through the year, and that's actually a really good point to check in and see what's coming up for you. So 75% off on all my 2023 predictions. I hope you enjoy them. Let me know how you feel about them. I've already got a lot of information from people who purchased them at the beginning of the year, and all of the feedback has been that these messages are quite incredible and quite powerful. So enjoy, and let's move on with the messages. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. My intention is to help you move through this world, move through this maze we called life. And my greatest hope and my gift to you is to offer you some information that will help and make your life, your path, a little bit lighter. And if you asked me, I choose to have a lighter path rather than a heavier, denser path. So it is with pleasure that I channel to you information that will hopefully help you to experience feeling lighter on your path. And if you're new, I would love for you to click the subscribe button. It tells you when I upload new content. Click the notification button, click like if that's what you choose, and share it with a friend or two. I believe that when we all begin to feel lighter, we will experience, in essence, a much lighter world. And who doesn't want that? I know I do. If you are returning, thank you so much for being a continuous supporter of this channel. Without you, there would be no channel, and there would be no one for me to channel this information to. And, well, then that would make no sense, because if there is no one to receive the information, then the information might as well not exist. So thank you for being a practicing receiver of these messages, and for implementing this information into your life. That is not to say that what I channel you must implement. I am simply channeling a higher perspective, and that's really what my work is about, is to offer you a higher perspective so that you can, well, essentially live a better life. And who doesn't want that? So thank you so much for continuing to come back, and for pressing the like button, for subscribing, and for tuning in. Your energy is very much appreciated. So without further ado, today we're going to talk about your path. Either what is your path, or what are you likely to experience on your current path. And if it is a path that you are choosing, then what might be beneficial for you to know. And if you are on a certain path, then it must be your choosing. However, if you are on a path that is not of your choosing for whatever reason, then you might want to ask yourself the question, what would I rather choose? And then choose that instead. And we live in a reality right now where if you're listening to this, you know that mind is a powerful tool that we all have. It is the tool with which we create, and that essentially all is mind. Our entire world is one big mind, albeit on a physical level. What I also want to say is that if you are listening to this type of information, if you are listening to this channel, that you know on some deep level that you are going through a tremendous change, massive change, and the whole entire planet is going through a massive change. Our 3D world structure, as we know it, is going through a massive change. And our world, our 3D world, is beginning to realize certain things about itself and humanity, that is. And one thing that we are learning to realize, or that we are beginning to realize, is that we create with our minds, and what we put our mind to, what we focus on in our mind, we will essentially and ultimately create. So in essence, we are realizing that we are all powerful creators, that life doesn't happen to us, we make life happen. And if you are listening to anything like this, then you probably have a pretty good idea already that this is the case. So you are in essence remembering that you are a powerful creator, and as such can create very powerfully. And the idea here is to give you the tools, knowledge, higher understanding, so that you create your world even better, in even more expanded ways, so that you can experience the freedom you were born to live. And if you don't feel free on whatever level, especially emotionally speaking, then you are effectively in your own inner prison. And no one chooses to be in prison, yet many people on earth, humans, live in their own constructs, mental constructs that feel very much like a prison. These constructs are very much, boxes we live in, and we call them limitations, except we don't think of that as limitations because we don't think that we live based on concepts. We just don't think about that. But you are a whole bunch of ideas put together. You're a one big concept. There is no you per se. You as an individual, I, as an identity, are a concept. And that concept lives within your own mind. In other words, what you think of you, what you believe about you, you will create, you will become. So if you are believing in being a quote unquote poor person, if your belief is that you are a poor person and you identify with the idea of being poor, then you will magnificently and very powerfully create for you that experience. That's the power you have. That's the power each individual has within him or herself. We just don't consciously think about it, and for the most part, we don't remember that we have this innate power to create. So if we have this innate power, we can either create prisons or create moving out of our prisons. The question is, do we want to make that choice? And it is a choice. I just heard, no one can make you prisoner of your own mind, only you can. No one can make you prisoner of your own mind, only you can. So if you are a prisoner in your own mind, then you can equally so create coming out of that prison. In other words, you are a free being. There is no end to you. You are temporarily embodying a 3D existence which has edges and its form is solid, but you are certainly more than the flesh and bones that you are carrying around, or that you are walking in on this planet. It's just purely for your experience, for your 3D experience. But back to path and creating better paths for ourselves. Perhaps realizing for the first time, what is my path? Perhaps you are seeking what your path is. Perhaps you don't like the path you are on. Perhaps you would rather choose a different path. I hope that all this information is going to help you do just that. But first, I ask the question, what is the consciousness of planet Earth? And what I received is, inner Earth, you'll survive this, new solutions and beginnings. Okay? So humanity is going through a lot of change. We already know that. I think we're pretty solid on that. What this is saying is that despite of the challenges that we are experiencing right now, and despite of all the battles that we are seeing within and outside of ourselves, it looks promising. It looks like we will get through it and we will survive. And this survival will usher a brand new beginnings. And it's not going to come without its challenges, as it always does. But challenges are merely presented to us in order to help us realize what we can versus what we can't. When a challenge is presented to us, it oftentimes forces us to shake our own identity. A challenge presents with itself an opportunity for us to be something more, to experience something more. So globally, we are experiencing a lot of challenges right now, and these challenges are opportunities for us to experience something more on a global level, on a planetary level. The question is, how do we choose to look at these challenges, and how do we go about solving or dealing with these challenges? Do we meet these challenges with full force, trying to get rid of challenges, or do we meet these challenges from the perspective of, why is it a challenge? What is creating this challenge? In other words, what is this challenge manifestation of? Because if we are facing challenges, then we have manifested these challenges as humanity. So the best way to solve a challenge is to first understand what are the basis of it being a challenge in the first place. What is this challenge? What is the challenge all about? And look at the ingredient, if you will, that make up this challenge. And look at each individual ingredient, if I can use that analogy, and see if it benefits us or it doesn't benefit us. And if something doesn't benefit us, then we transform it into something that does benefit us. But we have to understand the challenge. We have to see the purpose of the challenge. And every challenge has a purpose. It's an opportunity to grow. And we are on a massive scale in a growth spurt right now. I'm sure you've heard the term growing pains. Well, that's exactly what humanity is experiencing right now, growing pains, and a lot of it. So our hope here is to make these growing pains a little bit less painful and less challenging by helping you understand your own unique situation, your own unique challenge, and help you take care of this challenge in a new way, or look at this challenge from a different perspective, so it becomes perhaps less of a challenge just because you look at it from a different perspective. And that allows you to move on from the challenge or to deal with this challenge much more effectively. That is my hope. That is our hope for you. So again, the good news is that we might feel like we're in trenches right now. We are at war with the world and with ourselves, but it looks like survival is at the forefront. We are in a bit of a darkness, but we are moving into a much lighter space. And that takes a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, a lot of patience and grit. And I'm hearing the word responsibility. Of course, if we want to experience a better world, internally or externally, we have to first understand why is our world not the way we would like to experience it, and look at the ingredients, what makes that up, and decide to do something about it. If we cannot create something different, if we cannot make a change, then change cannot occur. Except change is always occurring. Change is always, that's one constant. The one thing that's constant is constant change. So, but humanity is changing on a different level, on a much more personal level and global level. And we personally co-create globally what happens in the world. Again, it does not mean that if you are watching this, you're causing the war in another country, but you are part of the consciousness. So on some level, you do contribute to that with your own consciousness. This is not a blame. This is no, I told you so. This is just purely realizing that every single individual, each and every single individual makes up the whole. So if you are experiencing globally massive challenges, then we individually contribute to these challenges on individual level by what we think, by what we believe, by how we see things, how we act, how we react. The burdens we choose to take on or not take on, I mean, the list goes on. So good news is we will survive this. Whatever the world is going through, we will survive this. New solutions and beginnings. As we go through this process of unraveling and uncovering, new solutions will be presented to us, new ideas, things we haven't thought of before, and then it will be the choice of whether we implement these ideas or we stay with the status quo. Now, if we choose to stay with status quo, then we are effectively resisting change. Resistance is a bit of a beast because it stings. It makes things so much more difficult. So if we are faced with challenges, but we are resisting looking at what makes up these challenges, then we are resisting effectively making change. And that's not a good thing, because nothing stays the same forever. If we are clinging to status quo, then we are perpetually living in resistance. And that's not going to work very well, because resistance oftentimes is very painful. And I, for one, as Joanna, choose not to experience more pain. I choose to experience far less pain. So in order for me to experience less pain, I have to look at my own resistance. What am I resisting within myself? What is humanity resisting within itself? We are part of a greater whole, yet there is a lot of resistance in acknowledging that, in making that our reality. Why is it so difficult? Again, belief systems. And belief systems simply are, they're belief systems. It's whether we choose to take on these belief systems as our belief systems. If we choose to make belief systems ours, then they become our belief system. So somebody's belief system doesn't have to be your belief system. We often don't think about that. If your entire world has been evolving around a certain belief that, for example, God doesn't exist, then that's your choice. You can believe that. And relative to what you believe, you will have your experience. You may have grown up with the belief that there is good and evil, black and white. If you choose to take that belief, then you will experience your life in black and white or as good and evil. That will be your experience because that's what you believe. Remember, the mind is very powerful. However, if we choose to believe that we are all part of one, we will then begin to experience life and existence that's one of unity, not separation. And this is where we are all heading eventually. We will survive. Lifting the veil, questioning everything, anything unaligned must go. It couldn't be a more appropriate message. What does lifting the veil means? It means we are no longer choosing to be blind to our own individual inner world and to the external world. I hear, what you see is what you get. That isn't necessarily so. What you see is what you experience, but you may not like the experience that you are getting. So perhaps what you see is an experience you'd rather not have. If you want to have a different experience, then you must change how you see. So we are learning to look at things differently from different perspectives. First and foremost, we are changing perspectives about ourselves in terms of what we can and cannot do. There are some beliefs out there that humans cannot heal themselves, that they don't have that capacity. It's impossible. Well, your body heals itself all the time. You don't think about it. You don't spend time figuring it out. The body knows exactly what to do. Of course you can heal your body. Of course humanity can heal itself. How else do you heal humanity? There's no outside source that says, wave a wand, you're healed. That's not how it happens. Humanity heals itself. You and I can heal ourselves. How? Well, first and foremost, I'm healing by practicing gratitude. And I'm like, gratitude for what? For the fact that you can heal. Be grateful for the fact that you can heal. I never thought about it that way before. I never thought about being grateful for the idea for the fact that I can heal. So becoming grateful for the fact that we can heal will help us open our heart. Why? Because when we realize we can heal, we are less afraid. How does that work? When we realize that we can heal, we begin to heal, of course. And as a result of healing, we become much more open-hearted. When we are much more open-hearted, when we are much more in the heart, vibrating in the heart, we are automatically less afraid. Fear is no longer in front of us. Fear is kind of somewhere behind us or on the side. Fear is there, it's necessary, it's part of human experience, but it's not in our face, scaring us all the time. That's what happens when we begin to heal. We begin to heal our wounds, we begin to heal our scars, we begin to heal our minds and our emotions. And as a result of that, as a side effect of that, we become less scared. Imagine your world tomorrow if you were to wake up feeling 80% less afraid of whatever you're afraid. Not enough money, not being loved, not having sense of safety and security, not feeling supported, not feeling not being abandoned, making more money. Imagine all the fears that you have that you normally don't think about every day, but fears that affect your life every day. Imagine having 80% of those fears. Imagine how your world would happen as a result of that. I bet you would like that. I know I would. I know I do. Every time I release a layer, I heal a layer within myself, I become less afraid. It's like learning how to fly. What's the point of having wings if you can't fly? You just flap along and nothing happens. You're too heavy. You're too dense. Wings aren't carrying you up because you're having too much density. You're carrying too much density. To heal also means to release and transform dense energy, not to get rid of. You cannot get rid of something that belongs to you. You cannot rid of something that's part of you. If you try to get rid of your fear, you're never going to succeed it. Never. It will never happen. You can never get rid of something that is within you. You can only release it. You can release it by transforming it. But in order to transform it, you have to face it. So there is no getting rid of fear without facing it first. It doesn't exist. So facing our fears now is our priority. First and foremost, why are we so afraid? Why is humanity so afraid? Well, there's purpose behind being afraid. I hear the words fear-mongering, okay? What does fear-mongering does? It keeps people, individuals, in a state of fear. What's the purpose of being in a state of fear? Why would anyone want someone to be in a state of fear? When someone is in a state of fear, they're a lot easier to control. I don't think this is news to anyone. I don't think I'm saying anything inappropriate. That's just the way it is. The fact is that when we are afraid, we're a lot easier to control. We are less in control of ourselves. So, one of the ways, or one of the benefits of healing our fears is we regain back our own control. And life gets better. But that's another story. Anything that is unaligned with who we are choosing to experience has to go. If you or I are choosing to experience a brighter world, then we need to look at what is standing in the way that is not aligned with us experiencing a brighter world. If what stands in our way is a fear of not being able to have a brighter world, we have to deal with that fear because it's not going to help us to experience a brighter world. Why would we be not able to experience a brighter world? Aren't we the one creating our world? Aren't you creating, or at least co-creating, your own world? Your life is your creation. You are co-creating with the universe all the time. You don't think about it that way. That's how it works. You're not doing this alone. You're co-creating. We have to take care of our minds, first and foremost. Why is that important? Universe, why is it important to take care of our minds? Because when our minds is full of sorrow, then we experience a lot of pain held within our minds. When we hold on to a lot of pain within our minds, and mind is creative, we will experience a lot of pain. We will be recreating more of that pain. We're just in that frequency. And holding on to pain is not going to help us experience a brighter world. Why? Because pain is dense. Pain is not bright. I would say it's the opposite of bright. Pain has a purpose. Yes, we learn from pain, hopefully. It offers us challenges that we can grow from, but ultimately pain is a dense energy. A brighter world is a much higher than frequency. So we need to release, transform our own pain. Just like we cannot get rid of fear, we cannot just get rid of pain. Pain exists for a reason. If something happened, you experienced pain. It's a normal process we go through. It's part of this experience. However, if we hold on to pain, if we don't heal our pain effectively, then it's going to affect everything we do and who we are. And that's not going to help us create a brighter world. So, just like we cannot get rid of fear, we have to face it. We cannot just get rid of pain. We have to face it. We have to clear it. If your body is giving you pain and you numb it, and your body says, hey, I'm trying to tell you something, and you're like, sorry, not listening, that's not good, because your pain is trying to communicate something to you. It's likely trying to say, hey, something needs attention over here. There might be something wrong. You might want to pay attention. If you say, no, thank you, I'm not listening, I'm just going to ignore you, and I'm going to take something to numb the pain, then you're not doing yourself any favors. We're not doing ourselves any favors by numbing pain. Just because we numb pain does not mean pain does not exist. Of course it exists. We're just choosing to numb it. How are we numbing ourselves? Well, many ways. Food, drugs, rock and roll, buying stuff, being preoccupied with other things. We numb pain all the time. It's because dealing with pain is not comfortable. But if we don't deal with our own pain, then we effectively cannot transform this pain into something else, into something much lighter perhaps. So each and every individual is, I want to say the word, urged to look at his or her own pain that they have been holding on to. Fears. Fear and pain, I can put that in the same basket. What are your fears? What are you afraid of? What is your pain point? Where are you still hurting that you have not let go? If you have been abandoned before, if you felt abandoned a long time ago, and you still are afraid of being abandoned, then you are living in your past. You are carrying that fear of abandonment on. And if you fear abandonment, well, you will live in fear and you will consequently create from fear. And remember, when we are in a state of fear, we're not nearly as much in control of our own life. Something or someone else is in control of our life, or we give that control to something or someone else. And of course, the fear of abandonment is just an example. Whatever pain or whatever fear is lurking within you and that's trying to get your attention, it would be worthwhile for you to spend some time and ask those really potent questions. What am I afraid of? Why am I afraid of? What do I believe within myself that makes me be afraid? What can I do about this belief? Is this belief even mine? Maybe it's not even mine. Maybe I borrowed it. Maybe it was given to me and now I feel it's mine. Generally, our fears are borrowed. They're projected onto us. As humans, we're born with, I believe, two primary fears: fear of loud noises and fear of falling. Everything else is learned. That is my understanding. And that makes sense to me on many levels. So we need to take care of our minds. It's because our minds are very powerful. So if we think negatively, if we give fear our priority, then that is the state we will create from, and we will not experience a brighter world. How can we? If we're all filled with fear and pain and we are creating from that space, how on earth are we going to create a brighter world? Brighter world is synonymous with pain-free. And each and every one of us is responsible for healing their own inner pain. Someone else cannot take your pain away from you. Someone else cannot take your fear away from you. They can support you in you shifting out of your fear and into your strength. They can support you energetically. They can support you with words. They can support you as a coach, this is what I do. They can support you through a massive process. But the letting go has to happen within you. You have that power. I cannot take away something from you. If you're still holding on to it, then that means you want it. Not on a conscious level. So perhaps it's to help you realize, why are you holding on to it still? Maybe you don't even know you're holding on to it. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, isn't it ironic that we all want to get rid of our fears, but it is so difficult to let our fears go? Well, that's a massive contradiction, isn't it? Now, if it's a contradiction, then it's probably not very comfortable. We all try to, quote unquote, get rid of our fears, but we can't seem to let it go. Well, perhaps one of the biggest problems is that we are trying to get rid of something that cannot be gotten rid of to begin with. That's because it has to be healed. It has to be transformed. You can't just lose your fear on the highway, close the door and keep going, and you're fear-free. That's not how it works. You cannot run away from your fears. You cannot run away from your pain. You can numb it, yes, but you can never effectively deal with it so that you are free of it. And we are desperately trying to be free of our pain and our fear. So what is your pain? What is your fear that you are still holding on to, that you are trying to get rid of, but it is quote unquote not working? If it's not working, then on some level, it's because you still need it. It's not a conscious choice, but on some level, you're still attached to it. And if there's an attachment, if we have an attachment to something, then that means that something is still serving us on some level. On a certain level, on a superficial level, we don't want it, but on a different level, we can't let it go. And that's because it still serves us. So we have to identify how our fears still serve us, because they do. If they didn't serve us, we wouldn't be holding on to it. How does pain serve us? Because it does. Maybe pain is a reminder of what not to do, or where not to go, or what experience not to have. Perhaps that's why we're holding on to pain, so that we don't create something that's the same, that's equally as destructive. But that means we're just holding on to it. Now, what if we transform that and we turn it from pain to love, and we realize that now we can create from love? We don't have to be afraid of doing something we don't want to do. If we don't want to do something, we're not going to do it. Makes sense, right? Why be afraid of it? That's not how the mind works. It's not that straightforward. There's many, many, many layers. And there are many layers to you. So we are uncovering all the different layers right now. Humanity is uncovering all the different layers, all the different things that are unfolding in front of us to help us realize we have been living in a world of illusion, or maybe even delusion. It's not a dig, it's not a ridicule, it's part of the experience. That's what evolution is all about, to realize the illusion of all that is. You and I are powerful beings. You know that already. But sometimes we have trouble creating powerfully. In fact, sometimes we're having difficulty accessing this power. Now, why is it so difficult to access something that we are already in possession of? How does that make any sense? Well, perhaps it's because we actually don't believe that we are powerful. Again, the mind is a powerful tool. It is how we create. So if you do not believe that you are powerful, you're not going to seek out your power. You're not going to yield your power or wield your power. It's just not going to happen. So then we have to look at what is standing in the way of us believing that we are not powerful. What delusion is that? And do we want to keep on holding on to that delusion or illusion? We have a choice. Oftentimes we don't think of it as a choice, but it is absolutely a choice. And every individual has the responsibility for making such choice right now. For that is how we will change this world. All right, let's go through piles. Pile number 1, what is your path, or what can you expect on your path currently, whenever you're watching it? You are not alone. Isolation, physical connection, community. Okay. What I'm hearing is the word community gathering. You are in the process of recognizing your own uniqueness. That's number 1. You are also in the process of realizing who you are, which is part of the uniqueness. And some of you are also realizing that you're not from this world, okay? So that's a message for some of you. You're realizing you're not from this world or of this world, which none of us are, by the way. And you're using this knowledge to form some sort of a collaboration with someone. Now, the message says you're not alone, isolation, physical connection, community. It feels to me like you might actually be feeling very alone right now and isolated. And that's pretty standard as far as I'm concerned. When you are on a spiritual path, you have to go through a process of almost isolation. And that's because you're shifting energies. And oftentimes you're shifting out of the energies that you were all along, and you're no longer fitting in. And that can be a very uncomfortable process. It's a very isolating process. It's basically, it's like you're going through a universal sifter. And, like with flour, you sift the flour so that the fine flour comes out and the clumps are left. You are going through like a universal sifter right now, where old, dense energies you're leaving those behind, and you are becoming more one with yourself and with the entire universe. More one with yourself, I want to say, more so than anything else, and one with the universe. There are some objections in front of you. What does that mean? I'm asking, what's the objection? For some of you, you are looking at yourself and you're turning away. There's something you are either not wanting to look at or not willing to look at or not ready to look at yet. And it has to do with some sort of a responsibility. This could be taking care of being responsible for yourself. This is really interesting because when I tune into that, what I get is I choose to no longer be responsible for myself. And I'm like, wait a second, that's backwards. Why would you choose not to be responsible for yourself? And I just heard I'd rather be a victim. Perhaps some of you are still living in the victim consciousness, and it's something you're not ready or willing to look at yet, okay? And that's hard because although if you're listening to this, chances are you're meant to hear it, okay? And by the way, it's not a diss. I come from a very victim-like mentality. Like I'm a pro at the victim thing. I wrote the paper. If you are in a victim state, then you are basically saying that life happens to you. Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. As a matter of fact, you make life happen. You are a massive co-creator of your life. So if you are choosing to see yourself as a victim, you are essentially not taking responsibility for your life, and that could be responsibility for your happiness. And if that's the case for you, if you are in that victim state, but you're like, no, I'm not going to look at it, I would encourage you to look at that, but from a space of compassion. In other words, don't say to yourself, oh my God, I'm a victim. Just go, okay, so perhaps I live in a victim consciousness. Okay. What is it about this consciousness that I like? How does it serve me? Because if you live in this consciousness and you are practicing in it, you're participating with it, and then it's your choosing. And if it's your choosing, then that means there must be something about it you like. Otherwise, why would you choose that? Perhaps you are not realizing that you are in fact choosing it. Perhaps you're believing that it's happening to you. It's not happening to you. You are choosing it, but it's not a conscious choice. So pile 1 is dealing with the victim mentality. You may come from a victim mentality like household, like I do or did. You might have a lot of victim-like people around you, and you might be quite frankly getting sick of it. And you're like, sorry, I can't deal with this anymore. I choose to no longer be a victim. So there is some victimhood mentality going on in pile number 1. And if that's the case, if you at least suspect that you are in a victim state, this is not a judgment, this is simply an observation, then acknowledge that within yourself and say, okay, maybe there is a part of me that is stuck on being a victim. And if that's the case, don't blame yourself for it, don't beat yourself up. Just ask the question, how does it serve me? And then hopefully you'll find the answer. Because once you know how it serves you, you can identify it and you can move on. You can choose differently. But if you don't identify how it serves you, then you're going to be this perpetuating cycle of falling a victim to your circumstances. And the universe doesn't want you to feel like a victim. Why? Because when you're a victim, you are often also not as much in control. You believe life happens to you, that others are in control of you. So you are likely much easier to control in various different ways. You'll be mad about the fact that you're being controlled, but you'll be manipulated. So just look at your life and ask yourself, is there some part of me that is the victim? If I, Joanna, sift through my different layers, there is absolutely some layers still that fall into that category. I try not to swim in them anymore, where I used to all the time, because I know it doesn't benefit me. It completely disempowers me. It gives me complete opposite experience of what I want to have. Okay, but it took me years and years and years to recognize that and to go through a process of healing that part of me that was the victim. And if you fall into that category, then that means that at some point you were victimized and you're still holding on to that victimization. And because of it, it has a strong hold on you. And because of that, it's in control of you. You're not in your own power. So pile law number one, it's a lot to do with a path of stepping out of your victim-like mentality. We have King of Cups. Now, isn't this beautiful? So this message is, this card is standing for, I said, what is their responsibility right now? What is it that they need to look at? You need to, pile number one, take care of your own emotions. Become more in charge of your own emotions. Be more responsible for your emotions. Realize that your emotions are yours. They don't belong to somebody else. And that you can't, so that you can't project your emotion on somebody else. Of course you can, and you probably do. Projecting your emotions on somebody else and believing that someone else is causing you to feel a certain way is not a good way to go. That's because, again, you are under the idea that life is happening to you, that someone is in control of you, that someone is that you are not in your power, someone else is. When that's not to say that people don't trigger certain feelings within you. Of course they do. It happens all the time. But your trigger is your trigger. If somebody is making you, quote unquote, feel bad about yourself, they're not making you feel bad about yourself. They're triggering something that's already within you. If it wasn't there, it would not be triggered. If you believe that you are, I'll use this example. If you believe that you are beautiful, okay, let's just, as an example, and someone calls you ugly because they're being an asshole, you realize, okay, this person is being mad. They want to punish me for something, but I don't have to buy what they sell. I choose not to make what they said mine. I still remain beautiful despite of the fact that they just called me ugly. Okay. It's a powerful place to be. On the other hand, if someone calls you ugly and your entire world crumbles, then there's something, quote unquote, wrong with that. Because it means you let someone affect you in how you feel and how you live your life. Now that means you're not in control of your life then. So pile number one, it's about taking control of your emotions, which is also taking charge of your mind. And to be emotionally solid, emotionally steady. This is a very powerful, in control, emotionally in control. That is not to say that you should control your emotion to the point where you don't express them. No, that's the opposite. You don't want that either. You want to be in charge of your own emotions. You want to be responsible for your own emotions. You want to be responsible for your own happiness. If I'm happy, it's because I choose to be happy. I choose to create my happiness. I'm not going to let some person make me unhappy. Why would I choose to be unhappy? Why would I let another person make me unhappy? Yet we do that all the time. Pile number one, the question to you is someone else making you unhappy? If that's the case, why are you letting them? Why are you letting someone make you unhappy? Do the right thing and say, no, I'm not going to let you make me be unhappy, because your happiness or unhappiness is up to you. Yes, the world contributes, absolutely. Other people contribute, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. So pile number one, part of your path right now is to face your victimhood-like consciousness. Again, this is not a judgment. And just notice if there is any part of you that continues to feel like a victim. Maybe it's just a part of you. Maybe you feel small on some level and you believe you deserve to get paid more, but it's not happening. And somehow you believe that, people are not seeing your value. It's not that they're not seeing your value. It's you're not seeing your value. You're not seeing your value. If you think of yourself as small, you're not seeing your value. Okay? So that's what I have for you, pile number 1. Okay, pile number 2, let's see what we have for you. We have Hireth, longing for home, homesick for the stars. And there's another card that popped out. The void, stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. These are very beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. What I'm sensing from this pile number 1, that just like pile number 2, just like in pile number 1, there might be a bit of isolation going on here. You might be feeling a bit of isolation. So if that's the case, maybe refer to pile number 1 as well. I don't know what Hireth means. Let me just see what I get from this message. I just heard you're not there yet, but keep going. So it feels to me like you are in a process of attaining some goal. Maybe it's a long sought after goal. And your goal is essentially a journey. And when I hear you're not there yet, it says that obviously you're not at the end of a journey, because life is a journey. So we know that. If you're listening to this, then you're not at the end of your journey, clearly, because you're still listening. This feels more physical to me. It feels like you are on a certain trajectory and you're going somewhere. You're not quite sure what it is either. You're definitely on a path. There's a bit of resistance because you're not sure what you're getting yourself to, but your heart is really wanting you to move in that direction, or is propelling you forward to it. It's almost like you're trying to decide whether it's worth continuing this path, and it feels like a newfound path. But what I'm getting here is it's not the right time to decide yet. Something substantial has not been revealed to you about this path that is going to make a massive difference in the way you feel about yourself and your path, but you're not there yet. Okay? And for some of you, this may not reveal itself until spring of next year, 2024, or spring of next year, whenever you're listening to it. And I'll share with you the vision I have. Where you are starting, it's like you have horses and they're like working in a field, and they're pulling these things that make the soil better. I don't know what they're called. English is my second language. And on the other side of that, which is representing your path, you are on a flying horse. And I know there's a name, Pegasus, I think it's called. I have to look up what that means. And the space between now, the you and the hard-working horse and the horse that's flying, the space between those two is your path. You are on this path. So you might be feeling like you're working really hard on a physical level, and you have no idea where this is going. And what I'm sharing with you, where this is going, is the feeling that I get, or that you get, when you think of the idea of flying on a horse. First and foremost, your intuition is skyrocketing. Your horse can fly, which means you are almost like in a different dimension. Okay, that's still in the physical world, by the way. And you quote unquote flying, so it's a certain state of mind, is very normal to you. It's completely different from where you're at right now. And I'm being surrounded by books. So this is showing me that you are either sharing knowledge, or knowledge is being shared with you. Or certain, and I want to say cosmic knowledge. You might actually be an initiator or an initiate of some sort right now. What does that mean, to be initiate? To be initiated to a process that's of, I want to use the term, higher ranking. To be initiated to some kind of a position takes time, and a certain level of fortitude and learning is required. So you are yourself in a learning phase. You are in a preparatory or initiatory stage right now to whatever is going to transpire for you down the road, and it's going to be very different for different people. You are here to support yourself, but you're also here to support others. So this is the image, okay? So it's telling me that your path is one of supporting others. Now, if I go super intellectual here and super rational, I would say that everybody's here to support others, but this is on a different level. This is, the support I'm talking about for you is more educational. So you are here to support others in your own unique ways through education. I just hear poem. Some of you are poem writers, or you write poems, or poems, okay? Some of you I see are signing a book, so you will be writing something that will eventually be published in whatever form. Others of you, you are receiving information and you're making this information somehow personal. Now, when I say personal, it's you receive information from some higher realms, you bring it in, and you put your intellectual spin on it so that a person can understand it and use it, okay? So I could equally call you like a translator. I believe what I'm seeing is you being a translator between those two different worlds, okay? It's different dimensionalities. So whatever you get from that pile number 2, pretty remarkable. The void, stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. So what this is telling me, and by the way, the void is where all potentialities exist. All potentialities exist in the void. You're in that space right now. But it might actually feel like nothing is happening. In fact, everything is happening all at once. Okay? Your job right now is, okay, they're telling me there is some inner conflict that's bubbling up to the surface right now. You have some inner conflict within yourself. What's one of the biggest conflicts they have? Fear of independence. Some of you are fearful of being independent, having an independent voice, being an independent. If this is meant for you, you'll feel the message more than just with words, okay? There's fear of independence. In fact, I'm being shown a vision that many of you, if you resonate with pile 2, are coming out of an energy that's shown to me a prisoner with shackles. You may actually have been a prisoner of some sort on some of your prior incarnations, and in this lifetime you actually may feel like you're in prison. You're mental prison, not physical prison, I don't believe. And this imprisonment has felt like home for a very, very long time, but it is a prison, and by it being a prison, it's limited. So pile number 2, it is crucial that you investigate your own inner imprisonments so that you can free yourself from the chains that bind you. That's a beautiful message. If this is you, I want to congratulate you. Why? Because, first of all, it wasn't easy to get to this spot right now, where you are right now. It wasn't easy. That's what I'm being shown. And it isn't necessarily super easy going forward, but it's different. It's still a challenge going forward, but it's different. It's a lot more, I want to say it's a lot more pleasurable. So still challenges going forward, but it's a lot more pleasurable. It feels bigger, it feels wider, it feels expanded. It's a lot more enjoyable. So I don't want to leave you with this notion that your path forward is just going to be bed of roses. No, because quite frankly, that would be boring. You want some challenges. But frequency-wise, it feels a lot more expanded and a lot more pleasurable and a lot more joyful. So you will still experience certain level of challenges, but the way you go about your challenges is going to be completely different. Way less resistance. Okay? There was something else they were sharing with me. Just give me a moment. Some of you are coming out of the closet in whatever capacity. I don't necessarily mean sexually. In fact, I don't think it's sexually. It could be, but I don't feel that's the majority of the message. You're coming out of a confinement, you're coming out of your own closet, and you are letting people see you for who you are, and that's very terrifying. It's terrifying because in the past, when you have shown your true colors, people had their way with you, and you were beaten up physically, mentally, emotionally. In fact, some of you have been called crazy. So you might have some fears around being called crazy. Well, to most humans, and that's at least 51% and up, what you're about to do or what you're about is crazy to those people. That's okay. To you and I, their purely 3D existence is crazy. So crazy is a matter of perspective. But because you're afraid of being called crazy, you are likely to shy away from conflicts and things like that. I'm not urging you to have conflicts with somebody, but I am absolutely sharing with you this message. Conflict is an opportunity for you to work smarter. Conflict is an opportunity for you to work smarter. Okay. Let me just see if my mind wants to ruminate on that for a second. When you have conflict with somebody and you understand the reason behind the conflict, then you can easily solve the conflict. On the other hand, if you're trying to solve a conflict by going with your hands and being mad and resisting, that's usually not going to help you solve the conflict. So if you are one of those individuals that runs away from conflict, ask yourself the question, why? Why do I always run away from conflict? First of all, what does conflict represent to you? Must be some fear, otherwise you wouldn't be running away from it. Are you afraid you can't handle yourself? Are you afraid you're going to feel small? Are you afraid people are going to punish you? Are you afraid people are going to call you crazy? What is it about conflict that you run away from? Now, I, as Joanna, don't enjoy conflict. Never have, not my thing. But I'm learning how to deal with conflicts differently. I'm actually learning how to deal with conflicts rather than just push them away, because I was the queen at pushing my conflicts away. Why? Because I had no tools how to deal with conflict, and I felt painfully small. So any conflict that would arise, I would automatically assume there was something wrong with me or that I couldn't handle it. Okay? You can handle anything you put your mind to, conflict or otherwise. Offer your best foot forward, but don't tell people your belief system is the only one. In other words, share with people your ideas, but also tell them that what they believe that's good for them for now. Doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean they're wrong, doesn't mean you're right, doesn't mean they're right. You're just having a different perspective. Offer it as a perspective. Don't be afraid to look at yourself and the way you live and believe as a way of basically seeing from a different perspective. And no one will argue with you that there is multitude of perspectives to be had. No one will argue with that, because if they argue with that, they're basically saying that there's the only way, or their way is the only way, in which case I would say eject. Because if someone believes that their way is the only way, well, there's nowhere to go with that. You just kind of have to back away and eject. You have the strength. The whale to me always represents higher consciousness. You are freeing yourself from the nets that have been holding you back. You are evolving to a much higher consciousness. And that often means leaving some things behind, maybe even leaving some people behind, maybe even leaving your workplaces behind. You're just simply moving on. And I can see how you would be questioning, your path and where you're going and should you continue. You have within you enormous potential. The only person that decides whether you live up to that potential or not is you. So you decide what potential you want to live up to. See this potential in your mind's reality. Tap into that potential, because the potentiality already exists. The potentiality of that already exists within other dimensions. So tune into that potential and recognize that it is a potential, and you can work towards that potential. But first you must realize that potential exists. If you don't believe that there is a potential that exists, well, then it won't exist for you. If you don't believe that you can create abundance for yourself, if you don't believe that that is what you can create, that is part of what you can create, then you're not going to create that. So you have to look at your limited beliefs, your limiting beliefs, and not just the conscious ones. The conscious ones are surface. You want to look at the unconscious ones, the beliefs you have under your consciousness, under your awareness. And that requires a lot of digging, a lot of opening up of old wounds, and perhaps exposing some pain. Now, as the general message said, we are here to heal our pain, not to get rid of it, but to heal our pain. So pile number 2, you have an amazing path as far as I'm concerned. It's beautiful, it's very heart connected, but it doesn't come without its challenges, if I'm being honest. And that's because you're an individual who believes certain things, and with those beliefs, you believe you are here to support others. And there will be some who do not support what you believe. That's okay, it's not for them. It's just simply not for them. Don't take it personally, it's just not for them. Let them have their beliefs. Let them choose. That's what I have for you, pile number 2. Okay, let's see what we have for you, pile number 3. We have cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. Ooh. Oh, well, you can see this vision basically shows an individual splitting in half, revealing something underneath. You are being cracked open. And it's probably one of the most monumental, if not the most monumental processes you will go through in this lifetime. When you begin to crack open your identity, when you begin to crack open the shell you have been hiding within. something remarkable happens. Your old identity falls away, and a new big identity begins to form. And this new identity is another more expanded version of you. This is you, pile number 3. You are going through a lot right now. And being cracked open is not a small thing, because it, in many cases, shakes up your life. Your entire existence as you know it begins to shake and crumble. And that's because you are revealing something new to yourself that's going to completely change the way you go about life. And you're going to create a completely different experience for yourself, a different existence. And that simply means letting go of the old so that you can welcome the new. So pile number 3, you are probably going to go through a lot of changes and structures. A lot is revealing itself right now in your life, in many facets of life. You are beginning to realize that you need more fun in your life, okay? You are beginning to realize that you can see, quote unquote, to the future. And you can project your future forward. You are beginning to realize that when you trust the process, the outcome or the end result will be appropriate to the efforts you put into the process. You are realizing that you are becoming or that you are a powerful being, and you are coming to a space within your own identity where you are beginning to function from that space, when you are beginning to effectively create from that space. You are recreating your life anew. I almost want to say you're like on a fast track. Everything is happening very fast. And it does not mean that what's happening is bad. It's actually quite on the contrary. It's phenomenal, but it's fast. It's fast, and you could get a little bit of bruises. Sometimes when we go too fast, things just kind of move around, and we can get bruised. But besides, they said, you live in a fast-paced world. You want things to happen fast. You don't want to wait around. Abolishment of old rules. It's an interesting word. Abolishment of old rules. Securing your own foundation, not only on a physical level, physically, which to me connects with finances, but also within yourself, spiritually and emotionally and mentally. You're like an overhaul. Your life is getting an overhaul right now. And if it isn't right now, it will be very shortly. And I'm hearing that this will be a pleasant surprise for some of you, or a pleasant announcement, because you've been waiting for change. You've been waiting for this sort of change. Well, it's not a small change. It's a monumental change. So when it begins to happen, I would love for you to share in comments what's going on in your life, because it's substantial. I'm seeing an image, and I'm trying to decipher what this image means to me. You can finally show yourself off to people. So maybe you've been hiding. Maybe you have been hiding your talents. Maybe you were under the assumption that somehow you didn't have enough, or you were not enough, and therefore people couldn't really see you. That's changing. You are taking, quote unquote, the front and center stage, and you're showing yourself off. So those are all metaphors. Okay. Why are you showing yourself off? Because you have something to show. You have something to offer. You have something to offer to the world. And that's why your life may feel like a bit of a mess right now. It's almost like you have to go through a bit of a mess in order to realize your extraordinary qualities. Otherwise, you wouldn't know you have, because you wouldn't be looking for it. This mess, if you will, reveals something incredibly important about you, and something that you're very passionate about, something that you will be very passionate about. But it's being revealed as a result of whatever changes are going on with your life. Okay? For some of you, this means a completely new relationship. Could be on a romantic level, could be on other levels, but this is a completely different relationship where you feel safe. So perhaps for some of you, you have not felt safe inside yourself, and your life would have reflected that, and it would have reflected your choices. But because of the process that you are going through, because of all the restructuring, at some point, it's like someone is going to come along and it's going to feel like they're going to save you, but it's not like they're going to save you. They're going to encourage you to stand on your own 2 feet. So this is quite specific. Whoever this is for, if this makes no sense, just keep that in mind. I can't even repeat what I said because it was just channeled. It just went through me. Let me see if I can get it back. Yeah, it's going to feel like someone is going to come in. They're going to wipe you off your feet, sweep you off your feet. But their job is to encourage you to stand on your own 2 feet. Okay, so it looks like you're going to be quote unquote saved by somebody, but the saving isn't to save you from anything. It's to help you realize how powerful you are. Okay, that's a very powerful and beautiful message that I feel. Okay, life is taking you in a different direction right now, and it might feel a little bit confusing. Okay, so I can see how you might want to be wanting to hold on to the old. I can see that. But let me put it to you this way. If something is not aligned with the path that you are on right now, then it's likely going to fall off or fall away, whether it be a relationship, job, apartments, it could be anything. If something is not aligned with your path, it's going to fall away. And it's going to fall away because it's of lower quality, of lower density, of lower vibration, and you need a replacement of a higher vibration. Okay, so jobs might be getting replaced, relationship might be getting replaced. You might be getting in a relationship where you're not looking towards leaving or anything, but that relationship takes on a different form. So it like the relationship reforms itself to another type of a relationship, but it's not happening on its own. It's happening because you're making it happen. You're part of it. Your change is ultimately contributing to the change of your relationship. Okay, so for some of you, your relationships are changing. You're not gonna see where you're going right now. I can see, you don't know. I can't see anything. The destination, if I can use that analogy, that you're going to, it's too far for you to see right now. You cannot see what the destination is yet. And I, for one, feel like you're not supposed to see the destination. And that's because you're supposed to learn how to trust the process. Oh, the trusting the process is a big one. Something that Joanna here, I deal with. They're saying trusting the process is like equivalent to trusting your breathing. You don't worry whether you're going to breathe the next moment. You just breathe. You just trust it's going to happen. equally, when you have that kind of trust that something good is going to happen, you don't spend time trying to agonize on what that's going to be. You just know it's going to be amazing. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen as a reflection of your process and the work you put into it. Okay? And you are effectively changing right now. That's big. 5 of Wands. So you're facing some kind of a battle here. Okay? Who are you battling? There is some sort of a battle you are facing. This could be with someone or internal. I suspect it's internal. And what I want to say is, illuminate what this battle is. I want to say that this battle is a consequence of your doing. So your inner battle is a consequence of, how do I say it differently? Your inner battle is of your own making. Okay, that's better, thank you. And because it's of your own making, you can stop the inner battle. The question is, do you choose to acknowledge there is a battle? Okay. And then what do you choose to do about it? If you choose to stay within yourself in a battle, then you're constantly battling. And who wants to battle all the time? It's tiring. On the other hand, if you evolve from this battle, if you transition from this inner battle and move on to a sense state where there is more peace, you're not going to be so preoccupied with trying to figure out desperately what the future holds for you. You'll just trust, because you're going to be coming from a space of peace. You will be vibing in that space of peace. You will not be as anxious. So some of you, this is talking about anxiety, perhaps even panic attacks. There is some inner conflict. Maybe there is some conflict with control. Maybe you're afraid of letting go of control. That's certainly something that I am going through right now. Control here is amplified, okay? Any kind of control issues. Not being in control of your own behavior, or trying to be in control of somebody else's behavior. You can't really control somebody else's behavior. If someone behaves a certain way, you can't really, I guess you can intellectually limit them, mentally limit them. Yeah, okay, you know what, I take it back. But that message meant something. What I'm hearing is, don't make other people's actions your responsibility. Make your actions your responsibility. Don't make other people's actions your responsibility. It's like you're holding yourself responsible for somebody's wrongdoing. If it wasn't your wrongdoing, then why are you holding yourself responsible? There's a message there somewhere for somebody. It's like, the image I have is, you helped somebody and then they either didn't take your help or they ignored your help, and they got themselves back to where they started, and now they're blaming you for it. And I'm going, well, you gave them something that could have benefited them. They chose not to take that, and they chose their own path. And now they're back to square one, and they're blaming you for it, and you're feeling guilty because of their entrapment. How does that work? So whatever I just described, that's stemming from your inner battle. It's pile number 3. You might have an issue of being responsible for other people's doings, other people's problems, other people's victimizations. Somebody else's choices are not your responsibility, and their choices will be reflected in how their life unfolds. So if you feel responsible, and I'm not talking about a child, but if you feel responsible for an adult whose life is going sideways, but they're the ones making the choices, and the life going sideways is the result of those choices, then you're not responsible for their life going sideways. How can that be? there's something there that I feel like some of you you believe it's your responsibility for somebody's life to go one way or the other. It's not, it's their responsibility. Your life is your responsibility. So this is change of priorities here. You're beginning to wake up to the fact that you had your priorities mixed up a bit. Okay? Somebody's inner healing is not your responsibility. It's their responsibility. You can help them. You can guide them. You can help them choose. You can help them decide differently. You can help them see things differently. You can do some energy work on them. But if they decide to choose something that's not in their best interest, you're not responsible for that. Okay? And I feel message number 1 might also apply to you, because I feel that keeps you trapped. And when you're trapped in that kind of a dynamic, then I could see how you feel like you're a victim. Okay, you're not a victim in this, by the way. You're very powerful. You just have to realize that somebody else's life is not your responsibility. If you're dealing with an adult, if you're dealing with a child, obviously that's very different. Maybe you have a scar, emotional scar, that says you need to feel needed, so people need you. Maybe you need people to need you. Maybe you are needed by people who constantly get themselves into trouble, and you're trying to endlessly help them, but they're not being helped, and somehow you believe that somehow it's your fault, or you're not doing the right thing. No, it's not at all what it is, if this applies to you. Your priorities are changing. Your priorities are changing, pile number 3, with regards to responsibilities. You make your responsibilities. Somebody else is their responsibility. You're not responsible for somebody else. If it's a child, obviously that's different. Somebody's happiness is not your responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility, okay? Also, your problem is not somebody else's problem. It's your problem. Your pain is not somebody else's pain. It's your pain. They may have triggered it. They may have caused it, but it's now your pain. You have to deal with it. So if you try to project it onto somebody else, that's the entrapment of being in a victim space. So see if pile number 1 also connects with you, because there is something there. But overall, pile number 3, you're in a period of a lot of growth. Literally, you're getting cracked open. I mean, what else can I say? Cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. You are evolving big time, big time. So whenever you're hearing this, whether it's in September or some other month, that will be the right message for you. And whenever you hear it, if this doesn't apply to you, don't try to fit it in. You might come back a few weeks from now, a few months from now, hear it again. It's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. Okay? That's all I have for you. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget about the 75% off on all my zodiac signs predictions. Please let me know how this information resonates with you. I look forward to seeing you soon, and take care of yourself. Much love. Bye-bye. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon.